Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice Tsague. I'm here with a very good friend of mine, Juan Rodriguez, the
Glad to be here.
disruptor.
Glad
Ron,
to
welcome to the
be.
podcast.
I'm super excited and glad to be here for this
Li-
opportunity, Patrice.
Yeah, listen, watch this guy. He's got a podcast coming as well. If I have my way, sometime in 2023, Juan is going to have a podcast that will be featured because, as you will hear today, he has an amazing vision. He's an amazing communicator, lots of passion. Today, we're going to talk about disrupting the auto collision industry. Juan is the founder and president of Ally Auto. Juan, you have an amazing company. It's actually Allyz with a Z at the end. You have an amazing vision, amazing company. And Allies is in the auto collision industry. It's a high end auto collision shop in Orlando, Florida, that specializes in really all cars, but your niche is those high end. I mean, you're taking all cars, but your niche is those high end, Teslas, Mercedes Benz, BMWs, those kind of cars. But you do work on all cars, but you are uniquely positioned for those high end cars because you provide personal care and so forth. One has a vision to disrupt the industry, and you'll understand why we talk about it. He's a biblical entrepreneur. He's also this year he won the Biblical Entrepreneurship of the Year at Nehemiah Week. Juan is also a Jikan investor, a global investors network investor. He does peer lending with us. He's also part of our passive income program. Juan is I have the privilege and an honor to coach him, walk alongside him. He's part of our couples in business. Um, Juan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Patrice. And we're just happy to be here, be able to share our story.
You know what? I forgot the most important thing. He's married to the beautiful Sheila. Did I say that right? Or Shayla?
Shayla,
Beautiful Shayla. And he has one son. They both have a son. Juan, what's your son's name again?
Evan.
Evan. He's a beautiful young man, very smart. So, Juan, you and Sheila, before we talk about your journey, you have an amazing story, an amazing vision. Before we get into it, I want to first kind of make sure our listeners and viewers understand what Allies does, right? What is Allies Auto?
Well, Allyz Auto is a pro-consumer, pro-fairness collision repair facility here in Orlando, Florida. We're certified with over 15 manufacturers. And what we do is we provide proper and safe repairs without deceiving, cheating, and stealing from the consumer. And that's big words because this industry, we are the light on the darkness. Everybody is on the insurance company's pockets, and unfortunately, they need to deceive, cheat, and steal from the customers in order to get referrals to stay in business. So we are definitely disrupting how this industry works because, according to many of my colleagues, they said that it's impossible to do what we're doing, but they don't know that when you have your call to do something and God is backing you, He will put all the people and all the right people beside you. Like I always say, like the mentor, when the coach, when the student is ready, the mentor will appear. And I'm so glad, Patrice, to be part of Nehemiah because I was at the right moment at the right time to share this vision with the world. And I was about to throw the towel, and God definitely, in a really supernatural way, got me connected with you and the Nehemiah project. And man, it's been a fun ride.
Amen. And we've enjoyed you as well. And we'll get a little bit into that. So, Juan, so you're certified with 15 manufacturers. Could you list some of the manufacturers you're certified with?
Like Honda, Acura, We are working right now towards the electric vehicles like Lucid, Rivian, and Tesla. That's just to name few of them. But the
All right.
common
So some of
vehicles.
those, they're common vehicles. And why is that important, by the way? I would have thought, okay, you are a auto collision shop. If my car is something wrong, I can just bring it to you. What's the importance of a shop being certified with the manufacturers?
Um, these cars are rolling computers with wheels now. There's
Mm,
so much technology when it comes to collision avoidance. Um, these vehicles are designed with a purpose, which is save people's lives in an accident. And technology in vehicles change after 2000. After 2000, the technology of the metals, when it comes to safety, vehicles are really more have a lot of new technology in them and a lot of code. And unfortunately, in this industry, is happening the same thing that happened with the horse and the buggy. People used to move their families on a horse and a carriage, a buggy, and same thing is happening to the internal combustion engine. And what is happening since 2000, a lot less people are dying in accidents because cars are extremely fast, and it's a big mass, heavy mass moving 60, 70, 80 miles per hour, and people get in collision, and there was a lot of fatalities. And the manufacturers have definitely put a lot of engineering, and things are evolving drastically. Our industry is changing so fast in the last 5 to 7 years that it has ever changed in the last 30.
wow. Juan, the perception sometimes that if something wrong with my car, particularly when it's one of those fancy cars, that it's best for me to go back to the dealership. But you are a high-end auto collision shop. So what's the difference between me going to the dealership versus me coming to you?
Well, it's all about integrity of the organization, Patrice, because when nobody's watching what they're doing, the engineers made what is called a repair manual for every vehicle. And the problem is laziness, lack of professionalism, and lack of integrity. Even at the dealership level, they're cutting corners, and
Mm.
unfortunately, they're putting people's lives in danger. So and that comes a little bit with my background. I'm an Air Force mechanic. I used to be an aerospace ground equipment mechanic. So I was trained to deal with people's lives. Like every car, everything that we fix at the Air Force, we 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 were thinking about people's safety. And for me, it was really easy to transition to the collision. And once I saw that all this technology, everything was evolving so quick, and seeing that there was a huge opportunity because most people that own collision centers in the country, they were prior technicians. So unfortunately, they're not business people and they don't have the education. When I moved into this industry, I already have the electronics, the background, and following manufacturers' data, because on the Air Force, everything is fixed by the manufacturer's data. So for me, it was an easy transition, but for majority of the industry, it's becoming really hard. And we are so far in advance of what the industry is going, to catch up is we're probably like 12, 15 years ahead of what the industry right now is. And it's really sad to say, but over 97% of body shops in America, they they are serving the wrong master, which is the insurance master. They
Mm.
control the money, they control the referrals, and body shops for over 30 years, they never market. They didn't have to do worried about referrals because they were able to get the work fed to them. And that's where we're disrupting the industry, because we don't depend on insurance referrals, we depend on customer referrals and word of mouth. and all the great reviews that customers leave because they're raving fans. It's two different business models, and when I was trying to do it in my own strength, it was even harder. But now, thanks to Identity and Destiny, that is a course that I recommend to everybody, I was able to understand that God called me to this. He called me to disrupt this industry, and not only the collision repair industry, actually the insurance industry. We're going to be holding accountable the insurers that are not doing what's right for the consumer. And you can get me on this in this topic, Patrice, and I'll be
Wow.
talking for hours because
No, I love it. So you're striving to disrupt the industry by helping customers to be kind of that advocate
mhm,
that ensures that they don't have to worry about being lied to, being cheated, being manipulated, because you're not working for the insurance company. Because
yes,
obviously, the insurance company, their motive is not to make sure my car gets fixed. Their motive is to make sure they spend as little money with me as possible.
yeah,
So they're going to refer me to those shops who are going to cooperate with that objective. Your motive is irrespective cost to make sure that my car gets fixed to as close to the specs as possible. Is that kind of where the misalignment is?
yes. And the thing is, a lot of shop owners and a lot of big corporate shops that are buying, they don't know how to repair a car correctly. They don't follow the manufacturer's guidelines. It's not that they're. I'm hoping and praying that they're not doing it in purpose, but some of these shops, they don't know any better. They just been repairing cars the same way, so they're repairing a 2022 like it was a 1987 vehicle.
Wow,
And
wow.
unfortunately, when you have such a big influence of a third party payer like the insurance companies, they're going to try to manipulate an uninformed, uneducated shop. And they're having it their way. They come to our shop, and our customers, we empower them, we edify them, and we educate them of what is righteously owed to them. Patrice, the American population is spending over 15% of their yearly income paying insurances.
Mm.
And let's face it, the insurance business, they're taking a gamble. They're in the gambling business. They take risk. And when you that's your business, you take a risk. When you need to pay, you lose. You need to pay what is righteously owed to the other person that has a contractual agreement. What's happening is they're not doing their fiduciary obligation, which is making that person whole. And a lot of people are being putting in really bad way. Not only when it comes to the financial well-being, they're putting their safety and the safety of the occupants. We do what is called post-repair inspections, and today I did one, a customer with two different repairs done in the last 4 years. And both, they were grossly negligent repairs.
Wow.
And what we're doing, we're just exposing this to the average consumer because unfortunately, the people perish for lack of knowledge. And
Wow.
what we're doing is educating them. And God called me to do this, and be that advocate for the consumer.
I
And
love it.
you and I have these conversations many times. We believe that we were a collision repair body shop owner for a reason, but my calling is to become that advocate for all the insurance uh, areas of the consumer.
I love it. We're talking to Juan Rodriguez, the founder and CEO of Allyz Auto, a company who seeks to disrupt the auto collision industry. He has one shop with a vision for many other shops, not only in Florida, but also around the country. He's a biblical entrepreneur, and he's also a passive income investor, as well as part of our couples in business. One, let's go back to where it all began, because people are hearing all of this and they're saying, what is it that has enabled a young man like yourself to do this? let's go back. So take us back to when, first of all, the seed of entrepreneurship. What prepared you to go into business, and why auto collision? Why auto repair?
Well, everything starts with a passion. And for me, in our family, from my great parents, from my grandparents, they were entrepreneurs back in Puerto Rico. So we have seen a whole lineage of different. My uncles are entrepreneurs. My parents, and it was just in our DNA. And now that I've been exposed a lot more to all the biblical entrepreneurship content, I realized that God called my family to finance the kingdom, but unfortunately, things happen and the seeds get stolen. And but you see that everybody in my most of my cousins, my all my uncles, they all own businesses. And one thing that I've seen is the ones that the few that put the business in God's hands, they're thriving, they're doing great business. But the ones that didn't, unfortunately, they're just make money, go down. It's the never ending story. That we work
Wow.
and we work, but we're building a house of cards. Um,
So you
but
were so Juan, so you was exposed to business growing up, the good and the bad.
yes, sir.
But so question, what made you choose the good? What made, because you could have gone either way. What is it about Juan that had you focus on the sustainable business, viable, that kind of thing, versus just doing what you saw your other relatives do?
Well, from being raised with an alcoholic father and seeing a lot of alcoholism in my family, unfortunately, some of them did business, illegal business. I like to learn from other people's experiences. I'm only 46 years old, and one thing that I've done since I was young is trying to learn from other people's mistakes, and knowing what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. I remember my mom when she moved to Florida, um, having a really abusive relationship, but she was faithful to the Lord. She got saved, and I think it's all those prayers, Patrice, and seeing how faithful and see how God provided
Mm,
when there was so little. Um,
mm.
I really, when we write our when I when I get to write my book, I will put all this. But I used to live with my dad in a room that it was probably like 10 by 10.
Mm.
Um, and I remember every day seeing an alcoholic person,
Wow.
how his life, so much potential being thrown in the drain.
Did you ever imagine, Juan, at that moment in time, what your life will be later? I mean, that take it back, that little Juan. What would this Juan say to that little Juan?
That you will be disappointed by many people, but God is gonna be there to be your role model and follow the
Wow,
Jesus role model.
wow.
That will be it.
And one with that, you faced a lot of disappointments. You went through, partners who cheated you.
Yep.
Um, you even went through a marriage that where the woman didn't do well by you. Father who disappointed you. One, and then even business coaches who robbed you.
Yes.
Employees who didn't appreciate what you did for them.
Hmm.
But yet, you respond to this call of being an advocate. So, how does one who has needed an ally himself, one who has looked to others but they've always disappointed, how does they respond to a call to be an ally for others? How does that work, one? Because you would think you'll be so disappointed that you'll say, forget it. but you're choosing to still advocate for others, even though others have let you down.
I learned that us humans down here, we make some really bad decisions because we lack knowledge and we don't have Jesus in our lives. And I understood that, and I am not gonna cripple my future and be better by other people. As I've seen the more it's like the story when you sow good seed in abundance, it's impossible to be to act different, because when you do it in abundance, good things happen to you. Even it's gonna make the bad things like, no big deal. I got enough. And I always tell people that when I share my stories, like, who you're seeing here is somebody who's been sowing good seed for many, many years. So I'm just beginning to get my harvest, because it's a law. If you see, if you put a seed, you will reap a harvest. And those are those have been my core principles. In the Air Force, I learned integrity first, excellence in all we do, and serving before self. So that was drilled to me in a really early stage of my life, and I was surrounded good people. I remember before this, I didn't even knew, but like one sergeant that had a really, it was four sections in the same building, four different cats, different teams, and one of them was always getting the to leave early on Fridays. They were the culture was so good. And after I got out of the military and all that, I realized it was because the chief of that group, he was a Christian man, and he was
Wow.
applying all the kingdom principles even in the military. So it was pretty cool seeing how everything aligned. And you know why get better? It's not worth it, Patrice. And I prefer I prefer, and I say it in Spanish more, that it's better to have fake happiness than real depression. So, that's how I've been, and I know God called us to do big things for His glory, and I'm just persistent. I have a great God bless me with such a wonderful wife. She's always supporting me, and that helps a lot, Patrice. I will say that's 90% of my success is having that amazing partner.
Oh my goodness, what incredible, guys! Our time is coming to a close, but Juan, do you mind? I want to do a part two with you because I didn't get into the meat of what I want to talk about. Is that okay with you? Can you come back?
No problem.
Listen, we've been talking to Juan Rodriguez. You've heard about his journey, the many challenges and obstacles he's had to build this great company. But what you didn't hear is how did all that turn around? He did give a hint. He married a good woman and he has the Lord on his side. But tactically, what are some things that Ron put in place to get him to where he is today? And where is Juan going for the future? And how can you be a part of it? Listen, if you are in the Orlando, Florida area, the Central Florida area, really, and you have a car, you need to check out Allyz Auto. Just go there, visit them, knock on Juan's door, and get to know this place because he's your advocate. All right. He's your advocate. I've seen him give free advice to people, whether they use his shop or not. I've seen him advocate for people, whether you use his shop or not. Of course, he's the best deal in town in terms of value, but he will give you the best advice to make sure that you don't get robbed by the insurance companies. Visit him at allyzauto.com, allyzauto.com. So on part two, we're going to talk about how Juan navigated all those challenges, let down by his father, let down by partners, even employees, even a wife who's supposed to be a life partner, to then now be married, have a son, have a new company, and be optimistic about the future. How did he do that? All right. So, Juan, don't you leave yet, because I do want you to give an advice to our people. If you want to know more about the Nehemiah Project, how we can come alongside you and partner with you to provide you with training, coaching, access to financing, visit us at nehemiahecommunity.com, nehemiahecommunity.com. There you can connect with us, provide training program to help you grow your business, coaching, have a coach come alongside you to grow your business, or access to financing. We connect with an investor or provide you direct financing through our investment fund. Also, you can learn how to become part of our community. Remember this, community has its benefits, so that we can work together to transform the world. Now, I've asked Juan to stay because I want him to give one more advice before we close. Juan, there are many people watching and listening, and they're saying, I want to start my own business. I have a skill, I have an expertise. Juan, what advice would you give them as to what's the one thing they can do to get on track to starting that business using their trade, their gift, as you did to start a business? What advice would you give them?
Just one, Patrice.
Well, we have time for two or three. How about that?
It will be Matthew 7. Everybody wants to walk through the big door, but not many want to walk through the narrow door.
Ooh, I like
Just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean that it's right, and you need to do it. That will be one. The other one is Luke 12. To whom much is given, much is asked. And if you have a big vision, that's why I'm such an advocate for identity and destiny. After you're done in that course, you will know your true calling, and you will be knowing exactly what you were in this earth. You were created to be in this earth. And the other one will be, don't do to others what you would not like to be done to you. Unfortunately, in the world of business, people are focusing on profit, and they're not focusing on the consumer and the team. And that's one thing that I realized, that if you focus on your customers and your team, money and prosperity is just going to be a buy-in product of how many people's problems you resolve. So I'm looking to solve issues, Patrice. That's what I do all the time.
I love it. Listen, go by the narrow gate. Listen, be faithful of a little. Do unto others what you like done unto you, and not what you would not like done unto you, and take care of your customers. Good advice, Juan. Listen, Juan's going to come back. We're going to talk about how he got here. And we're going to talk about his vision and how you can be a part of his vision. Maybe you own a shop and you're saying, I want to be a part of this big vision to disrupt not just the auto collision industry, but the automobile industry in general, or anything that takes insurance. Juan, thank you so much. Let me pray for you guys watching and listening, so that God may give you the grace to become like Juan. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents that are under your care, as Juan did, to steward them in such a way that one day you'll hear those wonderful words. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. He'll now make you rule over much. God bless you. And by the way, one of the classes you want to check out that can help with this is Nothing But a Jar of Oil. There's a class coming up with part of a passive income series where you'll learn how to take whatever you have to transform it into income generation, so you can become financially free. God bless you. Juan, thank you again. Thank you for listening and watching.
My pleasure to be here, Patrice, and happy to do it all over again whenever you want to.
Let's do it.